a little technical issue to work through. So that's the reason for a little bit of a late start here. Thank you for your patience. We'll get underway. We'll call the meeting to order. And
is everything okay? Okay. Thanks.
okay, so this opportunity for public comment at this point. So anyone wishing to address the board, we ask you to identify yourself and your affiliation and take about 3 minutes to close the meeting. So we're going to do it online.
Margie Stolowski.
Okay, Margie Stolowski. Okay. All right, so anyone wishing to address the board, now is your opportunity. Again, we ask you to identify yourself, your affiliation, where you're from, or if there's a company you're representing, and we ask you to keep your comments to about 3 minutes. So apparently nobody in the room is asking to speak. So we have one individual online. Margie, if you're interested in speaking to the issues here, now's your time. Just raise your hand, unmute.
I did unmute. I think there's my hands up also now.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Margie Stolowski. I'm a council person in Warmleysburg, Pennsylvania. We have fire companies we share and police that we share with Lemoyne Borough, but I'm speaking really from my perspective. I have emailed the commissioners a statement earlier, and I believe that not supporting our first responders 1,000% is unacceptable. And I am concerned about what's happening in the Motorola situation. They are not supposed to be dominating and then having other competitors frozen out. The impact to my borough is astronomical in terms of money that we cannot overcome. We've just experienced rate increases for our property taxes and through our school taxes, through waste management and all the other things that happen. So this is unacceptable. It has to be a public safety issue that the state has mandated and the county has to help. And I've identified one grant that you guys did that you should really reconsider. It was not a grant that benefited more than a couple thousand people. We're talking here about this is an issue in every single one of our municipalities. And it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed soon because it's unfair to let people who are working on their budgets and for the firefighters and police to be uncertain as to what's going to be happening. So I'm counting on each one of you to look at this very, very carefully. Look at where the money should go and to make a decision to put the money there. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So we have public safety. Anything you want to offer at this point? I'm not, you don't have time, so.
I think I'll pass for now.
Okay, all right. If we have any specifics, I'm sure your expertise will come in handy. So, okay, that moves us on to item 3, which is the approval of the minutes of June 21, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 21st.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, that moves us into our topics of discussion for today. We have several. We are dealing with the question in regards to the allocation that was made previously for the use of ARPA dollars for agencies and municipalities regarding the P25 radios. There was action taken on that last November 23rd. Apparently, we're looking to substitute a new action in place of that. So that would require that we rescind the action November 23rd, 2022. That was an allocation of $3,783,756.11. And we'll address that issue now if anyone wishes to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we rescind the November 23, 2022 motion that allocated $3,783,756.90 in funding to agencies and municipalities for P25 radios, awarding 2/3 of the baseline matrix as established by the Department of Public Safety using the cost of a Motorola radio.
I'm gonna second that motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. So now we have rescinded that action. That brings us to a possible substitute action, which has been discussed, debated, and now is outlined on the agenda. So we'll entertain a motion at this point for discussion in regards to that motion.
I'll make a motion to allocate funding to agencies and municipalities for P25 radios, awarding 2/3 of the baseline matrix established by the Department of Public Safety using the cost of a Motorola radio, Harris radio, or a combination of both by percentage of radio purchased by brand.
I will second that motion.
Okay, it is moved and seconded. Any further questions? All right, we'll call the vote. All in favor of the action indicate by saying aye.
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 Please indicate my vote is no, in keeping with my vote from the November 23rd, 2022 action. Okay, it passes by majority vote. All right, with that, we'll move on to the third item. We have discussion and possible motion to approve cooperation agreement with Cumberland Area Industrial Development Authority. I think we have representatives here from the group to explain the document that's in front of us. So who wishes to?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Colleen Terry, Town Partners, good to see you. We are here on behalf of the Friends of the West Shore Theater Board, as well as the Cumberland County Industrial Development Authority Board, to request the Commissioner's consideration of entering into cooperation agreement as required by the RAGP program on behalf of the Friends of the West Shore Theater RAGP grant from 2020. Just a little bit of history. They were awarded $650,000 in August, I believe, of 2020. The project was under construction in 2020, 2021. It's since been completed. Hopefully you've all been to the theater and you've seen it. They did a lovely job. Brad Fisher is here with us from Redevelopment, who is the project manager, construction manager on the project, to answer any questions you might have specifically. But we're asking the county's consideration, commissioner's consideration, to enter into the cooperation agreement that requires the Industrial Development Authority to enter into the agreement with a taxing authority in order to establish that responsibility, or beginning of the chain of responsibility of reimbursing any ineligible funds. And throughout the history of the program, that has actually never been the case, that it's come back to a taxing authority. But to start that cascade of cooperation agreements, there will be a separate and subsequent cooperation agreement. I believe it's already been executed between the IDA then and the Friends of the West Shore Theater to indemnify the IDA. So the indemnification, if it's approved, would go from the IDA identifies the county, and then the Friends of the West Shore Theater indemnify the IDA, so that Friends of the West Shore Theater would then be obligated to reimburse anything that is ultimately deemed ineligible.
Okay. Any additional questions?
I just have a question for Janet. Do you have anything to add to that
No.
summary?
The only thing I will just say is that this project is one of the few that we have that is completed and waiting for their funding. So we're excited to have the project online and to keep it rolling. So this is the only other thing I'll add too is this is the first cooperation agreement that we have brought to the county since before COVID. These agreements had been coming to you, and then during the pandemic with closures and construction slowing and things, we have not brought any of these to you. So we're all new to the process.
So we've done these for every other RACP that we're,
Yes.
and we will for future RACPs as well.
So this is not something new.
And so long forgotten.
Years.
Yes.
The most recent may have been the Carlisle family law. project, which is completed in Reimburse, so.
Okay, additional questions? Ed?
I'm good.
We did receive the additional identification information from the solicitor this morning, and our wonderful staff was very expeditious in making sure that's the version that's in front of us. So if we're prepared to take action, we can give our full yay or nay on this today.
I will move to approve the cooperation agreement with the Cumberland County Industrial Development Authority for obligation to reimburse expenditures related to redevelopment assistance capital program West Shore Theater revitalization.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. There's no further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coming in. All right, so that addresses the topics of discussion that were listed on the agenda. That moves us into item 5, which is other business to come forward.
I can provide an update on the project meeting.
Okay.
So we did hold Project 25 update and informational meetings on May 30th and June 1st. There was 2 sessions each day. We had 64 people in person as well as 90 online. So 154 total attended between elected officials and agency representatives in those meetings. We covered a host of items, a history of the radio project, really timeline since 2016, the planning and preparedness that has went into the project, as well as the radio advisory board's selection to go with Motorola, kind of addressing some of the public comment. It has been our goal from the start to be able to have a system that would allow both Harris and Motorola on the system, especially for some agencies that maybe had newer user radios so they could transition into P25 or Project 25 system with radios they currently have. But with the sentiment and the voting from the radio advisory board, the county system was selected for Motorola. So with that, we had entered into the Motorola contract. But, you know, as we said in those meetings, both Motorola and Harris will work on the system. Standard Project 25 features will work between the 2 radios. So being able to talk to each other, standard emergency alerts and things like that will work. Some features as far as like over-the-air rekeying will work. But when you get into proprietary features between the 2 vendors, those items will not work. So some things we specifically called out during the meeting that are proprietary to Motorola, their Smart Connect features, being able to use Wi-Fi or LTE to do enhanced coverage connection will be Motorola specific and not work with the Harris radios. Distinguished emergencies, if there's any integrated emergencies with connected holsters, connected vests, connected body cams, things like that, that will not work with the Harris radios. Contracted coverage with the Motorola contract is contracted with Motorola, and the over-the-air programming for upgraded talk groups and fleet map changes. So if there's new programming, the Harris radios may need to be done manually at the cost of the agency with a radio vendor. So just again, we wanted to make sure everybody was well aware of those details. Again, we're not a proponent of one or the other. The radio advisory board, again, had decided on Motorola, so that's what the county went forward with. With that, we did get a lot of feedback that the allocation funding for both Harris and Motorola was very, very important. And with your action today, that will make that available. We will be using the baseline matrix that we had before for the number of user radios, and then applying that with the formula based on the radio pricing, the Motorola pricing as we had before, and the Harris radio pricing we were able to obtain with the discount price applied, so that we'll be able to put that into the formula. And once we know what the agencies want to buy, we'd be able to calculate their allocation. And it can be either Harris or Motorola or a mix. So any questions on any of that?
agreement and work on it.
Oh, so for Motorola, we do have the contract and the purchase order already. So we are processing those orders as a bulk order through the county. For the Harris orders, that would need to be a local agency purchase, and then the county will be doing an agreement letter and contract award like we did with the other ARPA grants. So it will be a little bit different process, but and that letter and that approval will be probably next week's finance meeting for your review and approval of the contract letter and paperwork for the radio or for the Harris radios.
And I would assume then that will really spell out the process, of how this is going to work.
Yes, and with the holiday, we just needed to make sure that was checked one more time,
Yes.
so.
I'm going to ask a question. If you want to punt on it, it's fine, but it just occurs to me. So I feel like it needs to be said. I find it, you mentioned earlier about how long we've been engaged in this process, and it's 6+ years and of active engagement through the committees with the municipalities and the service providers. So, and I understand, the personalities involved change over the course of that time as well. But I have to tell you, I find it a little dismaying that it's not even the 11th hour, it's more like 2 seconds till midnight. We have so many people who are demonstrating that they do not understand how this arrangement was arrived at, what was agreed to, what the delineation of responsibilities among different parties is. So, it sounds to me, and this is not you guys' first rodeo either on this kind of issue, you've been through this before. So I felt like we had done everything we could possibly do as a county to ensure that those lines of communication were open and that there would be maximum understanding. And yet, maybe this is as much as we can achieve, but we've been scrambling here now at the last minute. And frankly, it's shame on L3 Harris for throwing a monkey wrench into a lot of this. So, and offering a deal that was frankly too good to be true. Which I think the facts bear out. But my question for you is this, and if this has to wait for an after action report, that's fine. But is there anything more that you feel that the county could have done in terms of helping promote that level of understanding among the the folks, all the stakeholders that are involved in this?
I don't know offhand. Again, I think we did when the project started. I can remember specifically we took a good look at the lessons learned from the last project. And we went to other counties, we went to other states that had similar radio projects. And we tried to garner notes from every project, what went well, what didn't go well. And a radio advisory board with external agencies was first and foremost, which we had for, multidiscipline and tried to do that input. And I mean, we were to multiple municipal advisory board meetings and all our agency meetings. And I mean, some months I think we give the radio update probably 6, 7, 8 times.
I would, not that I'm asking you to calculate, but I'd be very curious to know how many man hours we actually devoted to this over the course of those years. It's substantial. I have no doubt of that. So, and I think you guys did everything you could think of. I mean, we've discussed this many, many times. So,
I mean, I think it, everybody knew it was coming, but until it's here, it's not real. I mean, it's
okay.
So.
All right. Well, I appreciate your input on that as well. So, all right. I guess that brings us back to item 5, other business. Anything additional come forward? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Stand adjourned. Thank you all.